Hello, everybody. I am Holly Broadfoot, and I am the director of the Credit for Prior Learning Department here at SPS. So basically, my team and I help students figure out how to get college credit for things they've already learned or might want to learn on their own. So I'm going to be here today to give you the basics of CPL, just enough to know what it is, why it matters, and how to find out if it could help you graduate faster and save you some money. I'm going to kind of keep it a bit simple today, and if something catches your interest, you'll know exactly where to go next. You will also get an email later with this information. Like all the other webinars, this is going to be recorded, so you don't need to write a bunch of stuff down. So a little bit of housekeeping. If you notice at the bottom of your screen, like all the other webinars, you'll see a couple of buttons. There's a Q&A button, and what that will do, it is allows you to ask questions to people on my team. Now, when you're asking questions, try to keep these more general. I'm also going to kind of look at some questions. We'll see if they're general questions that everybody needs to, might want to know, and I can answer some of those. If you have technical issues, then you can use the chat function, and someone can kind of help you with some of those technical issues. Okay, some more exciting things coming up in your orientation. You have a time and energy webinar, which will be same time, 6 to 7, going to be tomorrow night. And then there is a really good webinar on Thursday, Start Strong, and that's going to give you kind of an overview of resources to help you while you're here at SPS, because what we want to do now that you are in the doors, we are going to help you graduate. That is why we're here. That is what our mission is. So please come to these webinars because they really, really will help you and help you get a leg up. Okay. So what are we going to be looking at today? I'm going to talk a little bit about what is CPL. And CPL stands for Credit for Prior Learning. It's kind of that big bucket of credit options. We're going to talk about some types of CPL. We'll talk about, that should be PLA, that is a typo on my part, PLA and INT, which is about portfolios and internships. And then we'll talk about how you kind of make a plan. So what is CPL? That's probably the first question on people's minds. And also there's some misconceptions about it. So first of all, what is CPL? CPL is just a way for you to get college credit without taking a regular SPS class. People will sometimes use big words or fancy words, but really what we're talking about is how can you get credit toward your degree without taking a 7 or 15-week regular SPS class. Now, sometimes credit for prior learning can be for things you already know really well. And so that can be things from work, life experience, training. Sometimes it's stuff you kind of know, and you could study up to pass an exam. And sometimes it's brand new skills that you are choosing on your own to learn. So that can be like, we have a lot of people who do CPR certificates and get 3 credits. We have a lot of people who will do Google certificates and get anywhere from 9 to 12 credits, and I will talk about that a little bit later. But the neat part is it can help you both in your degree and in your career. Now, why does this matter for you? Why are we doing this? Why should you sit here and listen to this? Why should you take the time to learn about CPL? Well, it's basically 3 reasons. You're going to graduate faster. You're going to save money, and that can be anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000, $7,000. So it can save you a lot of money, and it can, and many times, it can help you highlight skills on your resume, and that can help give you a leg up in changing careers and moving up in your current profession. So we're looking at things that are win-win across multiple ways. Now, here, what are some of the myths versus the reality? So first of all, a lot of people think CPL is only for folks who are already experts, and that isn't true. You can totally study for an exam and get credit. You can pick up new skills that also earn you credit. Another thing I hear is CPL is too hard to do, it's too hard to qualify for. No. Many SPS students end up using at least one CPL option once they know about it. This past year, over 50% of our graduates had some form of CPL. So a lot of students do it. And I'll tell you one thing about graduation rates. Since data going back to 2018, every single term, every cohort, graduation rates are higher for people with some CPL than people who have no CPL. So even if you're only doing like one exam or you're earning 3 or 6 credits, it will definitely save you time and money, and it will prepare you to graduate. Now, what I tell you, sometimes people come in and think, oh, I can't really do CPL because I don't have a certification, or I don't know enough about a topic to do CPL, and it's supposed to be about things I already know. No. You don't always have to take a class at SPS to get credit. You can study on your own for an exam, and there are free and low-cost resources to help you do that. There are also cheap online materials to do that. There is prep you can pay for to do certification, let's say on an online course. So if you know a little bit about a topic, there are ways you can build on it so you're ready to pass an exam or finish a certification. So that's one thing I really want to say is you don't have to know something about a topic. You can learn on your own, pass an exam, get a certification, and earn credits. So what are some real student wins? Well, there are language exams, over 50 languages. You can earn up to 6 credits with those. So if you come in and speak a language other than English, take a language exam. Another thing about language exams is the language exams will grant you credit for what is essentially like a 101 exam and a 102 exam. Sometimes what we will see is people will come in and they are fluent in a language other than English. They went to a college and the college made them take a pre-test and then said, you have to skip the entry-level exams and go to a 200 or 300 level exam, which isn't really fair for students because now you aren't able to take a class that you could pass easily because you know a second language too well. So if you speak a language well and you've only taken 200 or 300 level courses, talk to us, talk to your advisor, because if you haven't gotten credit for the 100 level courses, you can take these exams and earn 6 more credits. There are a number of Google certificates through Coursera. Talk a little bit more about those, but for instance, there's a project management certificate. You can earn 9 credits. That 9 credits will give you credit for our project management class and 6 other elective credits. CPR first aid certifications, you can earn 3 credits. With our PLA portfolio course, you take the PLA 300 course. You can then write a portfolio to earn credit for COM 210 or an elective credit, and that can earn you 6 credits. So a little bit about the types of credit for prior learning. What are the kind of different main ways to earn? Some of them are quick, like an exam. Others, like a portfolio, require more preparation, but those can fulfill a college option requirement while earning you 3 more credits. And so one of the things my department and your advisor can do is help you figure out what is the right mix for you. So credit by exam, I'm just going to touch on these. The main ones that people use at SPS are CLEP exams, which you've probably heard about, lesser known exam Sailor, BYU language exams, and DSST exams. Now, The exams, most of them are multiple choice. The language exams are multiple choice. There's a bit of a hearing portion, but you are not having to speak. So when you're going into these like CLEP and Sailor, you're thinking about 2-hour multiple choice exams. On all of these, you can and should study first. The only one I would say you wouldn't need to is if you're fluent in a second language. And there is free and low cost prep is available, and I will talk and tell you where you can find more information about that later. One of the other things with these exams is most of them are remotely proctored. So you can take the exam online at your own home, and then you're just monitored for that. So you can do it around your own time. You have kids, you have a dog that needs to be walked, you're taking care of a friend or family member. Now you can study when you have the time, and then you can also take the exam at your home when you have the time. Exams cover the full range. You can meet almost all of your general education or pathway requirements through exams. You can meet all of your elective needs through exams. And depending on the degree, you can meet your degree major exams. Some degrees will have more exams that can be applicable to the degree than others. So that part, but you can completely do your general education pathways and all of your electives. Now I just want to give you a quick snapshot just so you know what it looks like. We have what are called the equivalents of all of our CPL on the CUNY SPS website. And what you'll find are the little grids like this. And what we'll have is these will be divided by the type of exams. So there'll be a block that says CLEP, a box that says Sailor. And then in each of those, it will have the exam name, the required passing score, and then it will have the course or common area, which is what's called the equivalent. So for instance, in this case, Bio 101 would meet the equivalent of the Pathways Life and Physical Sciences, whereas Business 203 would be the equivalent of Business 315. So that is how all of these will work, certifications, exams, and that's how you kind of find out how you figure out what you want to take. Now, next thing, pre-evaluated certifications and licenses. These are credentials we've already reviewed for credit. And if you have one, that's great. You would look on the list, say, wow, I have this. And then you would contact either our department, your advisor, and we will get things uploaded to our transfer credit office. But if you look at the list and you're like, I don't have any of these, well, then maybe it's time to earn one, because a lot of these can be really good to put on your resume. So if you're in information systems, maybe you say, wow, I really now need to earn that CompTIA certificate. Maybe you are in health services and you're like, I've just never earned my CPR first aid certification. Let me go ahead and do that. We also have a number of Google certificates. Now, let me say a couple of things of those. Those are great to have. They are 9 to 12 credits. They are multiple courses within the certificate. So for instance, the project management, you would have to take within that certificate about 5 courses. It's all online. And once you do that, you would get the project management certificate. And these can be really, really good for earning credit, earning a lot of credit at once, and then also being able to place it on your resume. If you're in the information systems program, we have people who will earn 2 or 3 of these certificates to move through quickly. If you aren't, we have a lot of people who come in and want to earn the Google Project Management certificate. That is a really good certificate. We have free licenses for many of these Google certificates. So you can reach out to our department and we can set you up with a free license. I will say now that we get a big push for this at the beginning of each term. So as you're thinking about this, just get started with your classes, circle back with us in late September, and can look at setting you up with a Google license. But this is not something you have to rush and do immediately. You really want to make a plan. So certifications and licenses are really great, and you can think about what do you want to earn. That can sometimes help you graduate, but also help you in your career. So our pre-evaluated credential license, this is what our CPL page on the SPS website looks like. The certifications, we kind of try to break them down into areas that would make logical sense, but you can earn certifications from any other area. So if you were earning in the information technologies credentials, their CompTIA certificates, let's say you wound up earning a CompTIA, even though you're a business major, you would still get credit for that. But we try to put these in areas that, like I said, make some sense when you're searching for things. Now, the last kind of piece of our bucket, we had exams, we had credentials and licenses, and now we have portfolio evaluation. And one big thing is our portfolio program is different than many other colleges. Oftentimes you will hear where someone says, oh, I created a portfolio, which means they wrote this really big paper and they got a random number of usually elective credits. We don't do that. We have so many more ways to earn credit that we do our portfolio program differently. And I will say, because a lot of the other schools that give you this random number of, let's say, 9 credits, will oftentimes not then have the number of ways to earn credits through exams and credentials we have. So you want to do a portfolio. It's a multi-step process. We do our portfolios on what's called a course match basis, which means you would write a portfolio saying you want credit for a specific course, and you would write to those course learning outcomes. So that's the first part. Second part of that is whatever course you're writing to, you need to be able to apply it to your degree. So for instance, probably the course that most people create a portfolio for is COM 210, Writing in the Workplace. And that's because a lot of people can use COM 210 for their college option, and that course is also in several degrees. So people will use that. We also have something you can write to if you just need free electives, general electives. So those tend to be the 2 ways. If someone is been a computer networker for years and says, I want to do a portfolio for that, what has tended to happen is we have had more options with credentials and exams, is people find if they already know the material well, it's easier to do a credential and exam than write a 15 or 20 page paper. So first of all, it's a course match, and it has to be able to be applied to your degree. What would then happen is you would discuss it with our department, and most likely you would discuss it with Sydney in my department, who is our PLA expert, and she will kind of tell you all about it, talk about what the learning outcomes are, what your options are. Yeah. So you won't do that. Then you have to take the course PLA 300, and you have to have room for that. Good part is that's a college option. So no matter what, you will wind up having that course towards your degree. PLA 300 is also a pass-fail course. It's a bit writing intensive. It's also a 7-week course. So whether or not you take it fall, spring, or summer, you're only in the course for 7 weeks. And you only take that course one time. So even if you wanted to do multiple portfolios, you still only have to take PLA 300 one time. So what would happen is you would choose what you're writing to, and let's just pretend it's COM 210. Sydney would have given you the syllabus. You'll see the 4 course learning outcomes. Then when you take the course, we will walk you through how you would basically kind of write a portfolio. We're teaching you how to write to the outcomes, and you will do that step by step, and you would be working on your own portfolio. So you might be working on your portfolio for Comp to 10, and someone else in the class is working on their portfolio for a general elective. So you do that. Once you pass the course, then you would have really like a first or second draft of your portfolio. What we suggest is finish up the rest of your term and then keep working on your portfolio. I can help you, Sydney can help you. We also usually suggest try to turn in your final portfolio within maybe 6 months of the class so you still remember things. So you pass the course, then you have time to keep working on your portfolio and turn it in. It would be evaluated. The evaluation is free. And then if the evaluator passes you, you would get credit for, say, Comp 210 or the 3 credits of elective. Now, we hope every single person turns in a portfolio, but sometimes people will take PLA 300, start working on a portfolio and say, you know what, I think I'm just going to take the class, or I've changed my mind and I'm going to take this other class or exam instead. You can do that. But those are 2 separate things. So when you take PLA 300, even though you're working on and submitting pieces of your portfolio, you have to turn in the portfolio for credit as a second step. They aren't the same thing. Every once in a while, someone will think they've passed PLA 300, and that also meant that they've turned in a portfolio. Those are 2 separate steps. So I just want to make that clear. We recommend doing PLA 300 earlier, maybe not your first term because it's kind of an intensive class, even if it's pass-fail, but your second term, summer term, third or fourth, because we don't want you waiting till you're about to graduate, because then you won't have anything to create a portfolio for. You would have taken all your courses. So we suggest kind of doing it earlier, when, and particularly Comp 210, like I said, is a great course for this, and also if you need general electives. So a little bit of how CPL can save you time and money. Remember those language exams that are 6 credits? It costs you $50 to take the exam. You get the 6 credits, you just saved over $1,800. Sailor exams, it's $5 for the exam. They only charge $5 for proctoring. You take that exam and you pay your $5 and you pass. You've earned 3 credits. You just saved $915. Google Project Management, 9 credits. We'll give you a free license. You've just saved over $2,700. Now, imagine we've had people do all of those. So you can see how you can save thousands and thousands of dollars. So this is the other part, is how it can save you time. A lot of students are part-time. I did a second graduate degree working full-time. It's very hard to go to school full-time if you're working a full-time job. So if you were going part-time and you're doing 6 credits a term, you do a language exam, that language exam just saved you 1 term. You add 2 more exams. Say you do a language exam and then you do a CLEP and then you do a Sailor, you've just saved an entire year. You've just saved off a full year toward your degree. Then let's say there's someone else who does a Google Project Management, which is 9 credits, and then they do CPR and a first aid. They go to Red Cross and do this, and now they know CPR, they know first aid for adults and kids. That's 2 years for a part-time student you just saved by doing something that will be helpful in your career. So you can save thousands of dollars on one end, and you can save a lot of time on the other. So that's one of the reasons why SPS puts a lot of resources behind this because we are determined to get every single one of you graduated. I want to speak a little bit about our internship course, INT 450, because that falls in my department. And if you do internship 450, you will be winding up at some point talking to Sydney for that as well. Our internship 450 course, we do offer it in the fall and spring, and we have been offering it in summer because there's been a need. It's 15 weeks. For the 3-credit internship course, you're looking at needing to do about 10 hours per week. This can be the capstone for the Human Services Administration and Information Systems. Now, one of the bullet points says, can be completed at students' workplace. We recognize that most of you have jobs. So the traditional internship, where you go someplace and you are working for 20 hours a week for little or no money, doesn't work when you already have a job. So what we've decided and what we do is you can do what we call it an internship, but what you can do is you can work with someone in our department, and you would work with, usually it's just your boss at your workplace, and you can design a project at your workplace that's out of your specific scope of work, and you can use that for an internship. So it may be that you're in information systems and you want to do a special project at work, and that's also because you want to show your boss, hey, I've learned all these new skills, look what I can do, I should be moved up to a higher position. It's a great way of doing that. You could be in a place and you haven't been able to get involved with marketing, and you're a small firm, and maybe you're a communications and media student. So you go and you say, hey, let me do this special project. And that then will count, can be counted towards your internship. What would happen is you would work with someone in my office. Her name is Stella, and you will get to know her well. And what she would do is help you figure out what your learning outcomes would be. Because what we do is we take the project you're working on or the traditional internship, and we link those to your degree. Because the whole idea about the internship for us is trying to show how the skills you are learning in your degree can be used in your career and workplace. And so this can actually be a really interesting way to show your workplace, show your job, these new skills that you're learning, and how you can do more or do something slightly different with your job. This again is a pass-fail course, but it is the traditional 15-week course. In the summer, it's 10 weeks because summer courses are 7 or 10 weeks. Internships really are done on the back end because you need to have most of your degree components. So you would think about doing INT 450 in the last year of your degree, where you might think of PLA 300 toward the beginning. So this is the other thing, is how many CPL can you apply for your degree? First of all, you need to meet the SPS residency requirements, and that's 15 credits. Most students will earn more than 15 with us just because of the number of credits they need to earn to get to their major. We have a 45 credit limit of CPL that can be applied to your degree, but we also need to be flexible because you shouldn't be penalized because you're earning, let's say, certifications towards your degree. You shouldn't be penalized if you have 45 CPL credits and it's your last term and you need 3 credits of electives. So what you would do is you would work with your advisor, you would work with me and my department, and we can allow you to go over that maximum in certain cases where it makes sense. So it's a limit, but there's some flexibility with that, particularly with the number of credits you can earn from certifications. So there are rules, and some rules I can't go around. They are hard and fast rules, but when we can be flexible, which will help all of you, SPS, we want and will try to be flexible when we can because we want you to graduate. So how do you make a plan? This is kind of always the big one. First of all, you need to check your degree works. You have gotten emails, you've gotten links to videos, learn about degree works. That's going to be your best friend. So what you would do with that, you would go in and see what do you still need. And as you're going through your degree, because certain courses can be applied in more than one place, that elective bucket will sometimes change. So you may go in when you start here and see that you need 27 credits of electives, and then you go in later and you've taken something and you may see that you need 30. I mean, so just be on top of your elective bucket because it can change based on what you're earning. But check degree work, see what you need. Then you would go to the SPS CPL page. Remember I showed you at the beginning those grids? And you would make a list of options. So you would go in and you would say, hey, I'm a business major, I need business law. You would check all the exams and see if there's a exam that is the equivalent of that business law class. Or you could say, I need project management, Prom 210. So you would go in and say, check everything and be like, oh, I can do the Google certificate. Or you might say, I need elective credit. And you could just check and say, hey, I've really been interested, or I know a little bit about history. I'll study a little bit for that and do a test. Or hey, I can do these exams for language and do that. Or I'll do a Google certificate. So you can do things that way as well. After that, once you have a plan, then you can reach out to our department and say, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking of doing, and it would fulfill these courseworks. What do you think? Does this make sense? Can I get a Google license now? And then we will talk with you, and you can actually set up one-on-one appointments. I would suggest you do that after the term starts and you're kind of settled a little bit. But we can talk with you. But it's really helpful if you, at the very least, you come to these meetings or you send an email saying, here's what I'm thinking of doing, or here's what I need to fulfill. And then we can start talking with you about that. So where can you get more information? And this will also be sent to you. PLA email. You can Google that. But that's at pla@sps.cuny.edu. Honestly, the easiest way to find the other pages is just do a web search and search for CUNY SPS CPL, and that will take you to the main school CPL website, which has all the equivalent listings. We also found that it doesn't give you enough information sometimes, like, hey, where can I go to get a free voucher for a CLEP exam? Or do you have a place that it shows the exams and how they work with your Pathways General Education? So we made another page kind of on our own that we can just update on the fly. So we will update there when we have new exams that we've evaluated, or there's new certifications. There's a lot of frequently asked questions. How do things work? How do I get a free Google license? So if you search CUNY SPS CPL Digication, that page will come up, and that's really one of the easiest ways to find it. And then you can get a lot more information, and I would suggest going to that Digication page, you know, when you just have some free time, and that will give you a really good overview of PLA 300 internship course, but also just a lot of the nuts and bolts about the CPL and things of that. So that's basically my piece of it. So we'll see if there some CPL questions, but also again, orientation email if you have questions going forward about orientation, and also, once again, the PLA email address. So there we have that. So I'm going to say, I'm going to now just answer some questions. So I will look back and see some of the questions that have been asked that are kind of general questions that we see people asking over and over. And we'll do that for a few minutes. And again, look over the education pages, but email us. Sydney will be happy to answer questions. Emily will be happy to answer questions. I will be happy to answer them. Okay, someone asked about the language exams. Go to the Digication or the SPS website, but they're called BYU FLAT, FLATS exams. Those are the ones we accept. This exams are like in 4 parts, and basically we will grant up to 6 credits for it if you get 2 of the 4 parts. For, I want to say Spanish, for CLEP exams, they also offer Spanish, English, and German, but the BYU FLATS exam, I think, is cheaper. And BYU is the one that has around 50, 55 exams. We've had people do everything from Creole to Hungarian to Russian. So, but CLEP and BYU FLATS exams. I will say we take, NYU used to do language exams. We take them, but they're incredibly expensive. So unless you've already taken those, just do the BYU FLATS. Just do that. You don't need pre-approval to take CPL exams. You don't need pre-approval if you want to go and do a certification license on your own. The only thing we would say is if you double check with us, then we can just make sure that one, you're reading the grid right, basically. The other thing we can do is sometimes give you a heads up. Exams, for instance, God, I'm trying not to get in the weeds, but exams have to be reevaluated every few years, and the exam providers do that. And so sometimes there will be a gap between when the evaluation is renewed, and we try to keep up with that on the education page, but sometimes we can give you a heads up so we can say, hey, go ahead and take this exam now because you may have to wait 4 months for it to come up again. The other thing I would say is you need to have any CPL in very early on the term you're going to graduate. So if you are looking to graduate in spring, which is around end of May graduation, we need to have the scores in by like early March. So we can help sometimes plan with that to make sure you aren't doing CPL too late. Someone asked how the Google certificates count. Go to our either one of those pages and see how they count. In general, free electives are just that. They are any credits you can find that you haven't already gotten credit for. So you could be a business major and you're just like, hey, I like Python and I want to get a Google IT support certificate and I'm going to do CompTIA. Those would be your free electives. So you can do basically anything. Like probably our most popular free elective is the CPR certificate, because people are like, oh, I can go to the Red Cross and hey, for $70 or so, one weekend, I've earned my 3 credits. The only thing, some minors will have ways that you can do some CPL to do part of that. And so sometimes people will want to use elective credits in order to earn a minor for a certain reason. So that is the only other tricky thing. But yeah, we have a lot of people who will do like a project management certificate and it just winds up being elective credits. Um, let's see, so if someone asked if they began a certificate program in Coursera using their free license and then they discover another Coursera course that aligns more closely, can they discontinue the previous program and do a new one? Yeah. So let's say you start out being a business major, and so you start doing the project management certificate, and then you decide, I don't want to do this, and I'm going to become an information systems major. And you decide that you want to start the Google IT support certificate because that would allow you to get credit for actual information system courses. You can absolutely do that. We monitor if you are working towards something because we have a certain number of licenses to give out. If someone hasn't like logged in and isn't doing anything for about 6 weeks, we will pull that certificate back. Pull the license back, sorry. We will pull the license back. And then when the person's ready to do something again, they can ask for a free license again. Someone asked about more information regarding signing up for those exams. You can go to the Digication page and that will have more information about the exams and where to go. For Sailor exams, it will have a link to their website, a little bit of how it works. For CLEP exams, you would go to the website. And also on the Digication page, it will have another website, which is called Modern States, MODERNSTATES.org. And that is listed on our Digication website. What they do is they have practice tests. And so you can do a CLEP practice test, and when you pass that, they will give you a voucher to pay for the exam. You'd have to pay for proctoring, but they would pay the exam. Sailor allows you to take free practice tests for their exams as well. The INT 450 internship class does not apply to the BA in psychology. It can be part of the degree for communications and media. It can be used as a capstone for human services administration, for information systems. But for like psychology, it would be an elective course. Go to our websites and you can see exactly what the equivalences are for the Google certifications. Most of them are information systems type. There is the project management one, which applies to various degrees. There is I want to say there may be a communications and media, but I haven't looked at it in a while. But you can go and see what the list of those are on our main website, the SPS website. That drop down that says Google certificates, you will see the ones we have that are listed. Okay, someone asked if they failed the test that they were going to replace a class, can they take it or just take the class? Yeah, we don't know if you failed the test, or if we got the score report that you failed, we don't do anything with it. So you then decide. With Sailor, you can retake a test. I think it's up to 3 times. You have to wait like 2 weeks in between. CLEP, you can retake tests. I'm not certain how often. I don't know about BYU because honestly, the vast majority of people pass the BYU exams. And I'll say this has come up. The BYU language exams are for general language understanding. They aren't specialized for like an academic purpose. So if you were a psychology major and you wanted to take the Spanish exam, it's not Spanish to be used by psychology majors. This is Spanish, so you would know how to just talk to somebody on the street type thing. That's kind of how that works. Remember, elective credits can be anything. So as long as you haven't taken it, so questions of like, can something be applied toward general electives? As long as you haven't taken it, you can use that for your general electives. like I said, you can go and make your own plan, and you can just start taking exams, taking certifications, and then you just start handing them in, and we will just put them on your transcript. The only time that we really have to know about it is if you're going over that 45 credit limit, because then you need permission from my department. And that is really to make sure that what you're doing is going to keep moving you toward your degree. For certification, I mean, one of the language, we have a couple people asking about language requirements. Language winds up applying toward your pathways. And I think we have, because we offer Spanish, it's wherever the Spanish is, it may be like world culture, but they just all apply there. We just don't list 50 choices underneath that. And so for a lot of people, it will apply to, I want to say it's world cultures. And then you need another 3 credits that can be anything in pathways, and that's usually what the other. Otherwise, it would count toward your general electives. So I think those are the main. Oh, someone asked if there's a limit on the Google license. You can do as many Google licenses as you want to. How it, but at some point you're going to hit the 45 credit limit. And with the Google license, if you're if you're still earning Google licenses, and even if I'll say this, even if it's not necessarily applying to your degree anymore, let's say you don't need project management Prom 210 because you took it at another school and it transferred in, and you don't need any more electives, but you really want to take that Google project management certificate because that can be useful for your career. We'll still give you the free license. Or you only need 3 elective credits, the project management earns you 9. We will still grant you a license, or you can just go and do it on your own. Like I said, we aren't trying to hold you back. And particularly when it's something we can do that can be helpful for your career, we absolutely, to the best that we can, want to support you in that. And I'll say 2 quick other things. If you are a nursing major or an HIM major, any CPL that goes to a degree requirement, that means your nursing courses or an HIM course, deal directly with their departments. Both of those programs, if you look on our website, have a number of certifications you can get credit with. But both of those degree programs have added accreditation because they're in the medical field. So the CPL has an extra layer of evaluation that's been used in those. So if you're a nursing major or an HIM major, if you have a question about your pathways, general education, we can answer it, your advisor can answer it. You have a question about electives, we can answer it, your advisor can answer it. But if it is a degree requirement, go to your department and they can talk with you and work with you on that. I keep using Google Project Management because it's the one that most people earn, because project management is in several different degrees. A lot of people will earn that certificate just as general electives because it looks good on your resume. It's also really, really good certificate. But there's a whole list. They're called like Google career certifications, and there are maybe somewhere between 7 and 9, I think. Those are listed on our page. They tend to be more information systems like data analytics, cybersecurity, IT support, Python. There are a couple of data analytics. And so I think the project management and maybe one other are really kind of the only ones that are outside the information systems. But the only ones, Google certificates we will grant credit are the ones that we have listed on our website. And those are the only ones we will grant free licenses for. So that's why I say, go to the SPS website. You can see all what we call equivalencies, meaning if I take this exam, what will I get credit on my transcript? And you can see all of that as well. So, okay. There was a question coming in, like, does a course apply to business majors? That's why you want to look in DegreeWorks. If you go to DegreeWorks, you will see exactly what courses are in your major, and then you will see how that applies. So if your major says you need to take project management, then the Google Project Manager Certificate would give you credit for Prom 210, which is our project management course at SPS. So you would wind up getting credit for that. But that's where you need to look, is your DegreeWorks, because that's going to tell you exactly what courses you specifically need. And I also say that because you're all transfer students, which means you're already coming in with credit from different places and different schools. So you could all be business majors, but you might all need different requirements because you're coming in with different courses. Some people may need 6 credits of college options. Others might need 12. So you really need to look at your own DegreeWorks and see what you can get credit for and what you need. Okay, we actually, I think, have finished with our all the questions and answers, and look at that, right before 7. So again, thank you. I hope this gave you kind of an idea, a little bit about our CPL. One of the things I really wanted to kind of get across is too often CPL is talked about as you're coming in knowing something and then get credit for it, instead of talking about it also is you learn things on your own and you get credit for it. So I just want to really emphasize that because it's a good way to move you fast through your degree and can save you some money as well. And again, I know there may be questions, and the term starts next week, so we will answer your questions at that PLA email address. Just know we may be a little slow over the next 2 weeks because people in my department are helping with orientation as well as our normal CPL processes. And you may not be able to get one-on-one appointments until after Labor Day, but we will help you. We will get you through and we'll give you some choices with that. But thank you everybody for your attention. I know that coming in at the end of the day, particularly when everybody has busy lives, your time is incredibly important, and I feel very appreciative that you have given that to me and my department in SPS today. So have a good night, and we look forward to talking with you and helping you on to graduate.